And now I have to tell you that ora vi devo anticipare che cominciamo la conferenza stampa e Vin Diesel ci raggiungerà fra qualche minuto. Mi sembrava una scelta, a tutti noi è sembrata una scelta preferibile che tenervi ancora qui in attesa. Quindi se c'è qualcuno che vuole iniziare con le domande, alzi la mano. Da giù in fondo per favore il microfono, uno e l'altro di quei signori, Marco, Valerio.
Buongiorno, sono Marco Spagnoli. Volevo chiedervi che cosa, questa è una franchise che ormai dura da tanto tempo, che cosa vi attrae, qual è la vostra passione per questa saga che ogni volta però, va detto, ci sorprende. Grazie.
Thank you. No problem. I appreciate that. I got you. You know, obviously when we did the first movie, Ben and I were relatively unknown. You know, we were both new to the game and we're still trying to figure things out. And we had the opportunity to go make this movie. And it caught everybody by surprise. You want to start with that? Or start finish? Okay. And, you know, it's gotten to the point now.
Sorry, I have to tell you, I'm not English. They have the translation.
Okay, it's happening right now?
Yes.
All right, all right, perfect. You know, obviously, I've been involved with the majority. The only one that I wasn't in was the third installment. And, you know, Tyrese and I, we had the pleasure of making the second one together without Ben, but, you know, in living it in its different stages, it's gotten to a point now where I've learned not being involved with Ben, not being involved with Tyrese, not being involved with Ludacris, especially when I'm not in it myself, that quite frankly you piss the fans off. So it's gotten to a point where when the opportunity comes to make another one, I don't want to live with walking the streets with people asking me for a reason or an excuse why certain individuals weren't involved or aren't involved. And I feel like finally, for the first time, I think with this episode, I'm not going to have to answer any of those questions. Because everybody's finally together. You know, we spoke of the last one as being a reunion of sorts, with the original cast members coming back, but, you know, obviously Tyrese and Luda and all those were, you know, more than a big part of this franchise. And in my opinion, given the opportunity to come back to make a fifth installment, it's like making it to the championship game. And all the players were able to come back and get it out of order. All-star. That's right.
Tyrese, you want to say something about this?
Yes. Well, yeah, I agree with Paul. I just think at the end of the day, you have to respect the culture. And with this particular film, the fans show up and the fans are expecting to see certain ingredients. And I mean, when I got the phone call about Too Fast, Too Furious, it was like the biggest phone call I could ever get in my life, because that was only my second movie I had done after Baby Boy. So to go from like a urban kind of classic movie at the time to doing something like Too Fast, to go into the international realm and have people walking up to you talking about Roman Pierce who didn't know English was a very big deal, you know. So I'm just honored to be here, honored to be back, and obviously with Paul, he fought to bring me back to be a part of the fifth one. And we had more fun on this one than ever, you know. I didn't really know what to expect coming into it, but with all the personalities and star power in one movie, we all have a beginning, a middle, and an end to our characters, which is very important. And Justin Lin did an amazing job on that. Thank you.
intanto mentre il microfono raggiunge Valerio, io vi do un'informazione completamente inutile perché avete il Facebook, ma Fast and Furious 5 esce in Italia il 4 maggio come scritto qui sulla prima pagina. Non chiedetemi in quante copie perché ancora non lo so, qualcuno me lo dirà e se vi interessa lo comunicherò al prossimo intervallo. Prego Valerio.
Buongiorno, Valerio Salvi. Io volevo sapere da Tyrese come ci si sente a far parte di due franchise di grandissimo successo e che differenze ci sono, e poi come vanno le sue attività collaterali, perché insomma lui canta, tra l'altro ha pubblicato anche un fumetto che è andato abbastanza bene. Grazie.
No, I'm gonna let you do that. You know, I guess for me, since the beginning, putting out a couple of albums and then transitioning into doing movies, the world is a stage, and who am I to not try and take advantage of every opportunity I can to get out here and just have some fun. And so doing movies and music and then transitioning into making a comic book character named Mayhem was a very big deal. I went to Comic-Con in San Diego. Like most of us who do films, they want us to go out there to try and get the comic book fans excited. And instead of me going there just to be excited and sell Transformers or whatever movie I was selling at the time, I got really influenced by the comic book crowd and said, you know, I don't want to just be here on a podium selling a movie to the comic book fans. I want to try and contribute to the audience. And I went home and created a comic book character. And, you know, it's beautiful. I mean, one of the new accomplishments.
I'm telling it. Now, Tyrese, he recently wrote an autobiography. What's the title, Tyrese?
The book is called How to Get Out of Your Own Way.
That's right. Anyhow, just as of recent, it's on the New York Times bestseller list. That's my boy, right?
Yeah, but that's what it's about, you know. It's about, even when it comes to Fast Five, I think we all came back into this saying, yes, the fans want another one, and we have a responsibility to show up and do our part, but how do we take it to the next level? How do we make it better? How do we up the ante? And I think me and Paul's responsibility, without coming in overthinking, overanalyzing, overperforming, we just wanted to make it fun. And there was a bunch of stunts that Paul did. Once I seen the overall movie, I was really jealous. Like the one scene when the car jumps off, I was hoping that Justin would have called me to the set that day and said, can you come out of the trunk, you know? But he didn't call me.
Prima fila per favore. Signore con la camicia rosso.
Salve, volevo fare una domanda per entrambi. Neanche la settimana scorsa siamo stati qua per la conferenza di Thor e la Marvel, sappiamo Marvel Studios che stanno cercando di fare un film con tutti i supereroi, tutti i Vendicatori insieme. Neanche l'anno scorso Stallone ha fatto Expendables con tutti gli action heroes assieme. I Fast and Furious precedenti a questi erano sempre più o meno con una coppia, invece in questo effettivamente sembrano un gruppo di supereroi, se non gli Expendables più giovani, perché effettivamente voi siete la generazione successiva a quella di Svarzi, Stallone e Bruce Willis. Secondo voi per quale motivo oggi il cinema d'azione, il cinema d'avventura, l'immaginario ha bisogno del grande gruppo di attori? È un discorso di saturazione perché non basta più l'eroe d'azione singolo o è semplicemente un'evoluzione? Non so, a voi.
I think that what we found with this particular franchise is that culturally, I think that everyone has a face. Everyone feels represented. You know, obviously, I represent a certain part. You know, I'm blonde hair, blue eyes, all American, and you know, maybe not everybody identifies with me as a result. You know, maybe it's only my type that really appreciates what I do. You know, we got Tyrese. We got, you know,
I represent the sexy black. Sexy black. Bring it on.
But I think that's what it's really about. And I think, you know, also I think the superheroes, I think they changed. You know, I don't think you could have an Arnold Schwarzenegger today or Sylvester Stallone. I think today, with, you know, reality being what it is, with reality TV and the instant gratification and connectivity and Twitter and all that, I think there's also more of appreciation for like the regular guy that can step up and, you know, and make it happen regardless of the circumstance. I think we saw that with, I think we see that with the Bourne franchise. And, you know, Matt Damon's an everyday guy. He goes out there and kicks ass. He doesn't have bullets bouncing off his chest. I don't know, personally, I've always identified more with that type of hero.
I would say that I think the Marvel universe in itself is one thing, and obviously with the amount of stars in one film when it comes to Fast Five in particular, they're naturally going to try and clump or compare it to, but it's a completely different world. This is the car culture. This is adrenaline, energy. This particular one, Fast Five, has the, sexy. Yeah. Paul is holding the whole sexy thing down. I have a problem when it comes to working. My left arm is more in shape than my right, but we'll talk about it another time. Yeah, it's crazy. I've been working. I'm trying to figure this out. My God. So yeah, we gonna let the big dog chime in on this. No, I mean, go ahead, man. You know what I mean? No, this is a real interesting question. I think we should add to this. This was a goodie. This is a goodie. I'm gonna abbreviate. They said, so with movies like The Expendables, and with all of these different, with movies like The Expendables, and other movies like that's in the Marvel universe where all of these big superstars are all coming together to be in one movie, you know, they kind of clumping the amount of star power from Fast Five all in one movie. So what are your thoughts about it feeling like there needs to be a lot of superstars in one movie in order to sell some tickets? That's what you said, right? Something like that.
Fantastico.
I tried.
Reinterpretato da Tyrese Gibson è un onore.
Whatever.
It's a honor for me to be reinterpreted by Tyrese Gibson.
Ah, my man. Thank you.
Buongiorno. Good morning. Good morning. How is everyone? Good? Did you see the movie?
Yeah.
Oh, you all saw the movie?
Yeah.
Ah! You liked it?
Yes.
Yeah, this is a special day for us. We traveled the world to promote this movie. And as they say, all roads lead to Rome. So we are back here at Rome, which just happens to be my favorite place to do press conferences. I'm not just saying that, I mean that. Every single time I come into this room, and every time I come to Rome, I come into this room, and I sit up here and I look at you. We always get the best questions, but we always get, there's something about you guys, something about you as a collective body of journalists and interviewers that there's always, maybe it's me, maybe you guys have always been good to me, but every time I come here, there's so much love from you guys. It doesn't matter if it's Find Me Guilty or if it's Fast and Furious. You all are so generous. So I just want to tell you that thank you for over the years being so kind and so supportive and such real fans of movies. To answer your question, to answer your question, you don't need a lot of stars to sell a movie. We just did Fast 4, and we were here 2 years ago, and it broke all records at Universal. And it was just the original cast. Now, of course, we have a bigger cast for Fast 5. We have a bigger cast because that's where the story took us. The last film, Fast 4, was a bit of a somber film. We were dealing with the loss of love. And now in this film, in the second part of the trilogy, we needed levity. We needed to smile a little bit. Both Brian and Dom needed to start smiling a little bit. And it's very hard not to smile, very hard not to laugh when you've got characters like Roma and Tyrese and the various other wonderful talent that has come on board for chapter 2 of the trilogy. So the answer is absolutely not. You definitely don't need a bunch of stars to sell a movie. It's a gimmick that sometimes works. It was not the idea to come up with a gimmick for Fast 5 for all these stars to come in. It was the natural progression of the trilogy that started with the last Fast and Furious. Buongiorno.
Per favore, qui in prima fila.
Sente, sì, allora Roberto lo dice. La domanda è d'obbligo. La famiglia. Cos'è per voi la famiglia personalmente e la famiglia di Fast and Furious, visto che diciamo è il tema portante di questo film? E poi per Vin, visto che è tornato a Roma, qualcosina in più su Annibale. Grazie.
Wow, okay, you really want to wake up Hannibal. You really want to wake up. We're talking about a nice movie, a fun movie, Fast and Furious 5. Do we really want to awaken the Carthaginian general right now on the press conference of Fast and Furious 5? I'm lucky enough to be in Rome after 2,000 years. It's amazing. 2,000 years ago, nobody wanted me in Rome. Now all of a sudden I see bright smiles, joyful faces. Why wasn't it like this 200 years before Christ? What was the first part of that? Family. As you know, family has been a theme of so much of my work. In the first Fast and Furious, essentially, that was about a struggling family. Later, you saw me work with Sidney Lumet and do a film where I'm talking about family. But people don't think of an action movie. People don't think of an action movie as having the ability to incorporate real themes. People don't think of an action movie as having dialogue, like the dialogue that you hear on the balcony between Brian and Dom. People don't think of an action movie as having heart. But this is the movie that our public is watching. And Universal has been supportive about us implementing real themes. One of the things I'm most proud about in this movie is that although it's the biggest action movie of the summer, although the stunts and the action sequences has surpassed all the other Fast and Furious movies, the heart is still there. And that's represented in this, the dialogue that's promoting family. So much of our society is without family. So much of our society, so many people are raised in broken households, single parents. And they come to this movie for a sense of belonging. So the idea that we're able to bring in themes that are real like family and promote them in what would otherwise be an action film is a real testament to the experience of watching this movie. It's amazing that with the most amazing stunts in the world, people ask really intelligent questions like that. Why was this theme of family in there? And that they can pick up on that theme.
Io chiederei anche a Tyrese e Paul di rispondere alla stessa domanda, per favore. Grazie, question, please.
I think Ben touched on it, but I think just quite simply, I think everybody wants to belong. Everybody wants to be a part of something. That's why we have games, and I think that's why, people really struck a chord with the first one. What did the Dominic Toretto character do? He brought in a bunch of street kids that had a common interest of street racing. He created a family, and that's why people identify with him. Everybody wants to belong. Everybody wants a family, and I think it's pretty fundamental. I think it's basic, and I think that it's because it's simplicity. And on top of it, the backdrop of what we brought the first time around, that people are still along for the ride.
What they just said.
E la signora in seconda fila, per favore. La signora lì.
Salve, sono Anna De Martino, Cine Spettacolo. Da tempo volevo farle i complimenti per la sua interpretazione appunto di Prova di Castagni con Lumet. In quel film io l'ho trovato splendido, veramente splendido, eccezionale, nella parte di Dinocchio. Detto questo, visto che lei è non solo attore ma produttore e imprenditore, mi può dire qual è di tutte queste cose che le piace di più fare, di tutte queste sue attività? E poi, dopo aver diretto il cortometraggio Multifashion, ha intenzione di darsi alla regia per il grande schermo?
Where do I start? Okay, so I've been acting since I was 7 years old. And for me, acting has always been therapeutic. For many, many, many years, I couldn't get any roles, as you know. And 20 years after I started acting and I was beating the pavement in New York City to try to get off Broadway plays, I took a stab at directing, and I directed a short film called Multifacial. And then I directed Strays, as you know, which was in dramatic competition in Sundance in 1997. Had I not done that, I wouldn't be sitting here today. I did that as the last resource, as the last resort, because my dreams as an actor that were so hard fought were not being realized. You learn to produce while you're directing independent film. Unfortunately, I haven't directed a feature since Strays. The only thing I directed was the prequel to the last movie, Fast 4, called Los Bandoleros. And Los Bandoleros, I think, set a certain tone for this leg of the franchise. Being a producer is not something that I got because of my position in acting. It's something I fought for. It's something I held out for because I wanted to raise the standards of what we were working on, if this makes sense. So I didn't do the second and the third movie, and the studio came to me and asked me to do a cameo for Tokyo Drift. And they had said they weren't really sure if they ever wanted to go back to doing Fast and Furious again. All my agents said, don't do the cameo. If you do the cameo, you may mislead everyone into thinking that you're in the movie and you'll just let everybody down when they realize you're only in the movie for half a minute. But the studio said, since you haven't done any more Fast and Furious movies, if you do this cameo, you can produce the next Fast and Furious. And I went to the studio and I said, if I do this cameo, I'd want to produce the next 3 Fast and Furious movies. And the reason was, as good as the first 3 were, they were disjointed, they weren't connected. They didn't follow the true progression. And what I wanted to do was take a more Francis Ford Coppola approach to producing these movies. If you look at this Fast and Furious, it's the first Fast and Furious that starts with the same exact scene that the last Fast and Furious ended. That was one of my biggest victories in Hollywood. It sounds simple, it sounds like natural and obvious. It was one of the biggest victories I've ever had in Hollywood, was to be able to honor the audience by continuing the story, as opposed to just using a brand name and using the brand name and taking the story all over the place. One of the reasons why people appreciate this film so much, everyone says it's the best film. One of the things that the audience appreciates so much about this film is that it's continuing the story. Hollywood, the studios in Hollywood forgot the most important thing about creating a saga, which is leaving your audience asking one question: what happens next? So by us starting with the breakout scene, we are answering exactly what happens next. People go, why are you in Rio? Why does the movie take place in Rio? This was all thought out beforehand. If you remember in Fast and Furious 4, Dom and Letty are on the beach. And Letty says, I hear Rio is beautiful this time of year. And we learn that Vince, Dom's other childhood friend, is in Rio. So when Brian and Mia break Dom out of the prison bus and now he's got to get his family to safety, the only place he can go is to that friend that was established in Fast and Furious 4 that lives in Rio, south of the border. The reason why I haven't directed a feature right now is because of a fault of my own. And that is, I have this Hannibalic drive that takes all my free time and focuses it on the Hannibal trilogy. And I probably should have directed other movies. I have friends that say direct other movies. But I've been so myopic about my desire to realize this film that hasn't been attempted in 50 years, this Hannibal the Conqueror film, that I haven't allowed myself the freedom to venture off of that goal. Hopefully, once Fast and Furious 6 is delivered, at the level it'll be delivered, hopefully the studio, Universal, will have enough faith that they'll allow me to do the Hannibal trilogy. And if they don't allow me to do the Hannibal trilogy, I'm going to ask all of you to make them an offer they can't refuse. I need you to get it. Yeah, see, she got it. She knows what I'm talking about.
Allora, io voglio fare una domanda un po' particolare. Io sono Linda Simeone della redazione di Elaborare. Io non mi occupo di cinema, ma mi occupo di tuning. E la domanda che io voglio farvi è una cosa un po' particolare, perché noi in Italia stiamo vivendo per il tuning un momento un po' difficile, perché abbiamo delle restrizioni sulle omologazioni e soprattutto perché praticamente per quanto riguarda le modifiche delle macchine si abbina che le modifiche sulle macchine vadano a creare praticamente degli scompigli e quindi vadano a creare un po' tra virgolette dei criminali. Si dice che noi siamo tuners e non siamo criminali qui in Italia. Volevo sapere se per caso voi siete consapevoli di questo abbinamento, di questo binomio un po' fastidioso che hanno i tuners e come la vivete, perché i tuners vivono questa cosa per passione e quindi fanno le stesse cose che fate voi perché vi amano, perché vi imitano. E il fatto che di prendere le capostate in testa per questa cosa qua, voi come la vivete?
I grew up in the San Fernando Valley of Los Angeles, which is where the first one took place, the first Fast and Furious. When I was in high school, the street racing scene was really big, and I went all the time. It was down the street from where my high school was, off of Peoria. It was the hot spot. So when I was asked to make the first movie, and they mentioned that the backdrop was modern day street racing, I was like, I know that. So I was excited to get into it because I felt like we were finally given an opportunity to represent my brothers and sisters, the people that I grew up hanging around. And you know, by design, it was perfect without realizing, in the sense that, going back to what he talked about earlier, how multicultural it was. Japanese cars were just coming into the scene. Right before that, it was all American muscle cars. As much as that audience embraced this movie and loved it so much, we ruined their sport because we brought so much public attention to what they were doing. And as grateful as they were, it was a double-edged sword because we ruined it. The police started locking down sections of street. So unfortunately, maybe we ruined it for you too, to a degree. But I share the same passion. I race cars. I actually have the fastest BMW M3 in North America right now. So, and then I race Porsche GT3 Cup cars. I have a shop, and it's called 80 Performance. We manufacture high performance parts for cars, and we do race prep. So you and I speak the same language, even though maybe we don't.
Gentlemen, anything to add to this question, and then we close the press conference. Anything to add to this question before we close it?
No. Good job.
Grazie.
Give us another one, but we done with that. Paul close it out.
Grazie a tutti.